And I did forget to mention I'm using, or I should say working with, the Greenwood tarot deck, or Tarot of the Greenwood, it's called. I don't remember who the author is, and the box is long destroyed throughout history. My personal history, that is to say. And then we'll also be bringing in an angel tarot card over here to provide some guidance towards the end of the reading. Okay, so the card at the bottom of the deck is the Nine of Stones, which is tradition. Tradition has to do with school. It has to do with learning. It has to do with your family group. It has to do with the rituals of day-to-day living. This has to do with your habits and the things that make sense to you. You'll notice these are a couple figures here. There's some kind of a teacher. So this sometimes can be that place of learning. So some of you may be in school, for example, college. Some others of you may be participating in something, some kind of a ritual that's historical. Very traditional. I'm thinking of sweat lodge ceremonies as well, and other things. But just kind of getting together. You know, it's that time of year. We love the celebration of the fall, and Virgo brings in the fall later in the month as we transition into Libra later on. But not for a while yet, right? We're just into Virgo now. Now, next, covering you, we have the Queen of Arrows. And you'll see here that the Queen of Arrows is the card Deer. Queen of Arrows tends to be a Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius. She has to do with gentleness and energy. This has to do with being a gentle-souled person. Sometimes we know that Arrows people can be very, very blunt. So you may find yourself dealing with somebody who's very harsh in their words, or perhaps the energy may be harsh. Maybe for some of you, you're setting boundaries, and that may be a difficult thing for you to endure. Be careful to go forth with gentleness, right? Deer teaches us gentleness, and that we can be firm and still loving at the same time. You'll notice that there's a big heart right here up above this deer's antlers. Excuse me. And sometimes a white heart, H-A-R-T, can indicate the beginning of a journey. So something that you're going on. Maybe setting your sights on something. If you're the Queen of Arrows, and it doesn't have to be male or female specifically, it can be just more the energy, that it has to do with going on that new lesson, learning something brand new. Again, we see the tradition here in school. So potentially, or learning something, being taught something, but going on a new adventure, even a vision quest of sorts. What is it that you need to open your eyes to, and you need to bring about in your world? Now, this is crossed with the Five of Stones, and Stones is the earth sign in here. This has to do with kind of weathering out the storm. You'll notice that this person's in what's kind of a shelter, and there's all the lightning that's going on. There's some sort of a fire here, presumably started by the lightning. But this person really is just trying to get through something that's difficult or challenging. Maybe you have somebody who represents the Queen of Arrows who's not coming in a loving way, but being very difficult in your life or your environment. Again, this can be someone possibly older to you, not necessarily. It could be a mother who's an air sign. It could be a teacher who's an air sign, or just that kind of intellectual energy. Again, sometimes people can be very harsh with their words. Now, this is just sort of about enduring some kind of a storm. It doesn't have to be a big one. And you'll notice that this person is protected. So even though you're feeling a little, maybe even more than a little bit put off by that, it doesn't have to be a huge disruption in that. Like, you do have protection against that. You do have defenses against whatever that is. But how you look at it. Now, this person sitting here, it's hard to say. Do they see that as a beautiful electrical storm put on for their benefit and to witness? Or are they cowering in fear? I don't see the cowering in fear so much as just kind of, oh, here we go again. So for some of you, it may be a minor, I want to say fracas, but there may be that. Now, crowning you is protection. And this is a similar energy to the one that we saw in the Five of Stones. This is what may come to pass. Here we have kind of a different image, it's almost like flip sides of the same coin, right? We've got this idea of getting through something, but there's also the element of protection that's going on here. We have a fawn in this image, and because of our deer here, I almost wonder if you're having some drama with your mama drama, right? Or maybe your child's mother. And the sun looks really beautiful, and the sun is a star, as we see lots of stars here, but this feels very hot to me, very hot and uncomfortable, right? This is electrifying. This is just plain hot. And trying to get through that, trying to find our little oasis in the storm. But in both these images, this person or this individual that's being represented here has protection, right? And this even here looks like the lightning to me. So this is about being able to get through something. This is what's on your mind or what may come to pass, and this is what's crossing you or what's an effect that's coming into play right now. So it does look like you got it covered. So I apologize if your dog's barking. One's mine. She's going crazy because the neighbor's dog is out, and they like to chat. And yeah, they hang. They hang. Oh, yeah. Okay. Beneath you, this is something that you have, or something that has happened or is happening. Like it's already set in motion. So if you don't have it yet, it will be occurring. The Eight of Cups is about rebirth. In other decks, the Eight of Cups has to do with walking away from a situation that you've emotionally invested in, right? Now, this card celebrates the other side of that, not just leaving something, but the rebirth that comes when we leave things behind us that no longer benefit us. Now, you'll notice here on the cup, we have the symbol of Taurus, the bull. Although Cups is technically a water sign, but, there may be some Taurus influence in that. Then again, I see it simply as kind of power and strength in an earth sign situation, which could be you easily because you're this Virgo type. And Virgos are very strong men and women, very strong individuals. Here we have a Sheila Nagig. And a Sheila Nagig, we see those depicted over like in Irish houses of worship. They have a Sheila Nagig over the doorway. It's very symbolic about birth, rebirth, life, death, the transition of life. And that's what the Sheila Nagig here represents, is that idea that sometimes we have to leave something behind for something new. There's the idea that even when we die in our physical form, we're reborn into a new form on the other side. We're doing something else in that. So there's a transition piece. But this is the celebration of the positivity that is to come in setting that change. So if you have been going through something, if you've had some harshness, maybe you've had to set boundaries with somebody, that the Queen of Arrows, again, I'm thinking that could even be a family member. It could be a friend. It could be somebody you're involved with romantically. You've had to set a boundary with that, and it's kind of giving you, on the one hand, there's been some grief attached with that. On the other, it's kind of giving you a new lease on life. Like, I gotta traverse my own landscape here. I've got to set my own course in life. Now, behind you is the Lover's card. I love the artwork on this card. This has to do with the polarity between two individuals, male and female. For some of you, this could be about being in love. This could be about having found somebody that you have fallen in love with. For others, it may indicate a head and heart decision. There's a lot of symbolism on this card. I can't get to a whole lot of it, really, but here we see the drumming out of new rhythms. We see this love that comes in. We see this, I want to say caduceus. I'm not sure how to say that, but it's the symbol of a healer in which there's a snake that's wrapped up the pole, or a staff. We see the flame of Kundalini energy, creativity, passion, right? We see certainly with the phallic symbol here, we see also that idea of creation and making things happen. Now, this piece here, again, this could be loving feelings. Maybe you're involved with somebody who's an air sign. If this is romantic for you, if this has to do with your family relationships, and to some degree that may. We kind of have all the different signs represented. We've got several stones, a couple wands, excuse me. Actually, we've got a lot of stones. So that's earth. So that can really be anything. Stones have a lot to do with the physical manifestations of the things that we celebrate, like our family and, home, school, family, loving relationships, and so on. So this is an energy that you've come from. Can be that head and heart decision. Maybe it is about calling somebody out and saying, this is what time it is, and trying to get through some kind of a struggle or a storm, maybe making that decision that you have to do. Trying to set boundaries, I think, is very big with people. Just because we love someone doesn't mean that that's a flawless human being and that we're not going to have to set those boundaries. And then what's ahead of you here is this idea of exploitation. We see the bees, we see the workers. There's a lot of Marxist imagery in that. We've got this double-pointed kind of quartz right here, which has to do with the flow of energy. But just be very careful when you're doing something, that you're doing it because you want to do it and not because you simply have to get through with it, or because you have somebody who's dominating you in your life and not giving you the option to say no. Our power, I know this is going to sound really weird, so give me a second with that, but there's more power in saying no than there is in saying yes. And what I mean by that is when you say no, you're able to set a limit. You're able to say, this is not to my benefit. If we say yes to things when our heart is not in that, we can find ourselves ground down, and we find ourselves becoming disposable, I guess. I don't really mean that in the, nobody's going to kill you if they can't do things, but mind that people aren't taking advantage of you, that people are not taking advantage of you. Okay, that doesn't have to be this lover's person over here, but maybe this has to do with even a sense of self-love, trying to find that balance within oneself to say, I don't like it when this person storms at me because I do have to say no, but I refuse to be exploited either. And this is in your immediate future, so be very careful about that. It's going to take a great deal of protection to get through that. You're going to have to weather some kind of a storm, but someone is going to try to take advantage of your generosity. So just be very careful about who you're with. Now, the card representing you is the home card. So again, we see this theme of home and family. So whatever's happening in your family life, it may just be that, that we have to be ever mindful in order to create a harmonious environment. There's going to have to be this balance between what you want and what the other person wants. Maybe this is in your marriage. Maybe this is with your family of origin type relationship. But there's definitely some drama in there. And I feel like you're changing and becoming more empowered in who you are. Even if you make it a gentle yes, a gentle no, somebody else still may not be able to hear that. They still may get bent out of shape because you're not bending to their will, and you find yourself stuck in this environment where they push even harder. One thing that I do advise people who have boundary issues in their family is that when you first begin to assert a boundary with people, they will push even harder. So if you thought that it was easier to cave in before, you're going to find it even harder to stand your ground now, because they will continue pushing harder, and getting louder and louder and more angry, hoping that they can push beyond you. It's sort of like, if you think about it, and I'm not trying to insult anybody's adult relatives or anything, but if you think about the child having the temper tantrum in the store, if you cave in the first couple times they do it, and then you decide, that's a bad idea. I'm not going to cave in when they have the temper tantrum for the candy, so I'm going to stop doing it. The kid will get louder and more ferocious and fierce. Their face will turn red. They will, I don't even need to paint you that scene. It will get worse and worse and worse. And eventually the kid will catch on that when mommy says no or daddy says no, they mean no. That's it. Unfortunately, we have to do that sometimes with adult family members. So if your mom is pushing you in a direction, or if there's some other kind of family member, your partner, whoever is pushing you in a direction you don't want to go, or insisting that you give of yourself when you don't have anything left to give, you may hear some very loud squeaking. At the same time, know that you are within your rights to say no to things that don't benefit you. Right? It's just the way that it is. And also understand, too, that when you're trying to create that home life for yourself, and you're trying to really tap into the abundance and the hope and the beauty that can be your home of choice, note that the pathway does not go directly to the house. And they used to paint the they used to set up I want to say sidewalks, but that's a modern concept. But the path to the home, the path to the door was winding like that. The idea was that evil would get lost in the bends and that they wouldn't be able to make it to your door. It was to keep only the good things coming to your door. The things in life, as you're trying to create your ideal home life, your beautiful picture of home life, there may be a lot of winds and twists before you get to that spot. And so be patient in that. But I do think it may be more that you're experiencing grief in your family of origin, but it seems that your mate, your family of choosing, is really satisfying. This is the 10 of stones, right? That's the 10 of earth in other decks, the 10 of pentacles, 10 of coins. So that's really the happy family type situation. So it seems to me like you've got this going on. And then we look at your environment card. You've got the foundation card here. I mean, what could be better in your private life? You're setting this foundation with this person who's your soulmate, your lover, your partner, your life partner, and creating a beautiful home situation for yourself and with one another. But again, there is that squeaky air sign that may be giving you some grief. So be careful that you clarify what you want. This tradition card that we saw at the very, very beginning reminds me that sometimes it's easier to fall back on our old ways and to say, that's what we want to do here. But, that may not be the case. Now, this 9 of stones can also be about setting up your own business, creating your own business. It can be, again, this is a 9 of coins type card. And, but this can simply be about getting your finances in order and so forth, because some of you may be getting married or setting up a household with somebody, maybe even starting a family, so we're kind of looking at that and thinking that may be the case. Hopes and fears. As we look at that fear's power, be careful about power struggles with difficult people. I mean, both of these cards, these 5s here, are indicating struggle and hardship. And there's a part of you that fears that. Right? You kind of fear the conflict. You don't like a conflict. You want to get along. You don't want to have to lay it down. But unfortunately, sometimes that's what we have to do. We have to know that we're allowed to say no. We're allowed to set our boundary. We're allowed to choose because we don't want to walk in this energy. Exploitation is the energy of defeat. That's when somebody else takes your time and your effort, and they use it to their own advantage with no regard for you. And then here in the final outcome card, though, we see the 9 of wands. This is the wounded warrior card. He's fought off the battles, this individual here. And there's a great deal of respect coming to him because he or she has fought that battle, has set that limit. Don't be afraid here to set the limit, because we know the alternative. You will feel exploited if you're not able to say, this can't, I'm not going to allow that. I'm not going to allow that. I want a happy home life. I want to be able to shut my door at the end of the day. I want to invite in my partner, the person who gives me strength and courage, who respects me, and so on. If it is your partner, this may simply be some of that grind that comes, that day-to-day, I am I and you are you, kind of minor differences. You forgot to leave the cap off the toothpaste. It could be somewhat insignificant like that, or it could be where it leads to some deep-seated resentment. So that's another thing. Exploitation can lead to resentment. So be very careful when you do say no, you mean it and you're willing to hold that line. If not, you're also allowed to say, maybe, let me think about it. I'll get back to you. You don't have to make an answer when you feel pressured. Just put off making the decision until you've had a chance to reflect on that and make the true or the best decision for you. Okay, so let's go ahead and shuffle our angel cards and see if we can't maybe get some kind of a step, some guidance, something like that may come in, positive encouragement, guidance, feedback from the angels. The Ace of Air. Oh, this is consistent with what we got. So give me a moment. I will hold the card up so you can look at it. Ace of Air. And I'm going to read you from the book so that we can get the maximum benefit of the answer that we've been seeking. So Ace of Air, I'm trying to get the glare off the card, but that's not really easy. Okay. And it states on the card, brilliant new ideas and inspirations, seeing the truth of a situation, and a challenging beginning. New ideas now take flight. Expect great inspiration to come, possibly from an event or situation that had previously troubled you. Now you see the opportunity to create something amazing and you're full of excitement. Focus your thoughts on your long-term goals and create a plan of action. You now see the truth of the situation. Confusion is gone and clarity has taken its place. Your new understanding replaces previous misconceptions. Now you're ready to move forward. A challenging beginning, turning a negative into a positive, a brilliant intellectual solution. So, yeah, this is wonderful. So a little bit of challenges, but some clarity here, right? The Queen of Arrows bringing clarity as well. Some endurance, because, it wouldn't be life if we didn't have stuff to go through along the way. But really being able to start something fresh and new with honest perspective and an understanding of what it is that you need to do, what you want to do, and setting your direction in that. Let's remember, aces are beginnings. Those are new.